If you're new to Mac, you have probably run into terminology that you don't fully understand. All the features and functions in macOS have their own specific names that might be hard to understand for beginners. So here's a quick explanation on some of the most common terms related to macOS. Let's start with AirDrop. AirDrop is a file transfer feature that allows you to send any file wirelessly between your Mac, iPhone, and iPad as long as they're in close proximity to each other. Apple Menu. If someone talks about Apple Menu, they're referring to the drop-down menu on the top left corner of your screen. This gives you basic functions like turning off your computer, force quitting applications, listing the recent items you've worked on, or opening up a window that shows overall information about your computer and operating system. Control Center. Control Center lives in the top right of your screen, and it's a drop-down menu that gives you access to your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth settings, a shortcut to AirDrop, screen mirroring, which allows you to mirror the screen of your Mac on a nearby smart TV or Apple TV. You can change your screen brightness or volume, and even turn on Do Not Disturb mode from here. If you go to System Settings and the Control Center tab, you can customize which options are included in your Control Center. Dock. Dock is one of the key parts of macOS, and you'll be using it a lot. It's a quick way to launch applications or recently used documents, and by default is located on the bottom of your screen. You can either have the dock always visible, or if you're like me and want to maximize your screen space, you can set the dock to disappear when it's not being used, and it will pop up every time you bring your cursor near the bottom of your screen. System Settings has a lot of options for customizing your dock. You can even have it on the left or right side of your screen, but most people usually keep it on the bottom. Finder is this smiley face right here. It's the equivalent of Explorer in Windows, so you use Finder to access your files and applications. It has a couple of different ways of viewing and sorting your files, and it has a built-in search feature, which we'll talk about later. Pretty straightforward. If you hear someone mention Hot Corners, they're talking about one of my personal favorites. Hot Corners is a feature where you can assign specific functions to each corner of your screen, and touching that corner with your cursor will initiate the action. You can use these to view specific application windows, start your screensaver, put your screen to sleep, and a lot more. I love the convenience of just quickly tapping a corner with my cursor to perform a specific action. iCloud and Apple ID. These are the core features of any Apple device. Apple ID is your user account for Apple services, like the App Store or iCloud. Apple ID is also what you'll use to sync files between a Mac and iPhone. If you have multiple devices logged into the same Apple ID, which is how Apple's ecosystem is designed to work, you'll get things like passwords, browsing history, messages, photos, calendars, email, and other things synced between all your devices. iCloud is the cloud storage linked to your Apple ID, so a lot of your documents will live in the cloud. iCloud storage is what allows you to access many files from all your devices, and it even has a login option through a web browser, so you can even view your files on a Windows computer or any other device that has a web browser. Launchpad is a tool that looks a lot like your iOS app view. With Launchpad, you'll get a quick overview of all your apps, and you can launch apps here with one click. I don't use this too often, and sometimes it takes a while to locate an app using Launchpad. But it does have a handy search bar on top that you can use to locate a specific app. M1, M2, M3, M1 Max, M2. If you hear this terminology, we're not talking about BMW models. These are the different processors used in Macs. Older Macs used Intel processors until Apple introduced Apple Silicon, their own chips, which have given the whole Mac lineup a lot more power and better battery life. If you're buying your first Mac, make sure you get an M1 or newer model. The difference between these and Intel Macs is massive. Sonoma, Ventura, Big Sur, Mojave. This is not a tour guide taking you through California, even though it might sound like it. These are the names for different macOS versions. Something that's good to understand, since a lot of user manuals and instructions often refer to a specific version of macOS, so you might see a version number like macOS 14, but some might just call that macOS Sonoma. The older versions were named after cats, so there was Tiger, Lion, and other cool cat names. Back then, the name was also macOS X, which Apple later simplified to macOS. Menu bar. This refers to the menu options on top of your screen. On the top left, you'll always see the menu options for whatever application is currently active. On top right, you'll see system controls and other options like battery status, search, Wi-Fi, and so on. Some applications might also add a little icon up here to the right, but that always depends on the application. Mission control. Sounds like a military term, but on a Mac, mission control shows you an overview of your open windows and thumbnails of full-screen applications. I'm a big fan of this feature since it makes it easy to find that one open window I'm looking for when there's a lot happening on my computer. This feature used to be called Expose on older Macs. Just like the name suggests, it exposes everything that's happening on your computer. Sidecar. This is a cool little feature that allows you to use an iPad as a second screen for your Mac. You can move the cursor between your Mac and iPad and place applications and windows on your iPad screen. Spotlight. This is a powerful system-wide search feature. You can look up files, use it to open applications, or even use it as a calculator or unit converter. What's cool about Spotlight is that it can see inside documents, so if you have a 100-page book that has a specific word or term somewhere, you can search for that word, and Spotlight will find it. You can use Spotlight on the top right corner of any Finder window, open it from the top right corner of your menu bar, or simply open up the search bar with the keyboard shortcut command plus spacebar. Stage Manager. This is a new feature that was introduced in macOS Ventura. Stage Manager will focus on one application and hide everything else to the side of your screen. You can switch between applications with one click, and every time you switch, the previous application gets hidden and minimized to the side. I'm not a huge fan of this one since I like to keep an eye on multiple things at once. But if you like to simplify everything and focus on one thing at a time, this might be good for you. Time Machine. This is Apple's built-in backup system for your files. To use Time Machine, you'll need an external hard drive where Time Machine will back up your files. I'm using a cloud-based backup system these days, but this is a really easy solution if you want to use the built-in solution. And there you have it. Hope this was helpful, and maybe you even learned something new. Now, go ahead and share this video with that one friend who needs a crash course on Mac terminology, and subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more guides like this. Thanks again. See you next time.